Good morning and welcome to Dateline New Haven, your home for community radio, WNHH-FM, 103.5 FM, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. I'm your host, Paul Bass, and today we're going to look at some local news, some local headlines, and some local tunes. We do this every once in a while. Talk about the local headlines. I give a little bit of gloss on it, a little bit of my take on it, take it or leave it, probably leave it, and then play some local music we love, including a new video by a New Haven star. And I want to thank Yale New Haven Hospital for providing support for today's program. Facebook's down, guys, if this is Wednesday and you're listening live. If it's Thursday and you're listening again, Facebook should be back up. You can find us, if you want to watch some of the videos I'm going to be playing, you can catch us on YouTube. Go on New Haven Independent. New Haven Independent YouTube. So, and you've been listening to Afro-Semitic Experience, playing Eliyahu Hanavi, one of my favorite tunes. They've updated and put some kick to. And speaking of kick, you know, it seemed like there was this change in the whole country in the last week in how they thought about the Democratic presidential race. People got their first good look at Joe Biden, who everyone thought was this invincible front runner for the Democratic presidential nomination. They got their first look and they kind of barfed into their Cheerios. Everybody started abandoning him. His numbers went way down in the last week when they saw what a weak candidate he'd be. And on top of that, his biggest loss, hemorrhaging, was from African-American voters because Joe Biden did something amazing in a debate last week. In 2019, a Democrat running for president, Joe Biden, argued for states' rights on civil rights. Now, remember, we last heard those arguments by Southern segregationists like Jesse Helms, Strom Thurmond, and, to be fair to the historical record, plenty of Democrats in the 50s and 60s. Now, nobody outside of extreme segregationists would ever talk about states' rights for dealing with civil rights anymore. Now, there are arguments against busing, but not a states' rights argument. So black voters obviously have abandoned Joe Biden. But one person has seen what happened last week and decided it's time to stand up for Joe Biden. And that's our visionary with it governor, Democrat Ned Lamont. Yesterday, as the rest of the country was seeing this nightmare unfold, Ned Lamont said, "Gee whiz, guys, I'm standing early for Joe Biden for president." Wow. Now, this is deep, folks. It's not just about one endorsement of somebody, you know, as one of the many people came to see you. And it's not like Ned Lamont always feels he has to endorse people who endorsed him in the past. Hillary Clinton endorsed Ned Lamont for governor once in 2010, but he turned around and endorsed Barack Obama over her for president. So this wasn't a loyalty thing. This is a privileged white clueless thing. And that's who our governor is. Ned Lamont was tone deaf to having someone run for president of the Democratic Party arguing for states' rights on civil rights. And he still endorsed him at this moment early, unnecessarily, because the guy's going to fall apart. You're not going to have Joe Biden in this race, deep into the race. But you're going to have seen that the governor of Connecticut is completely tone deaf on race and class. And I'll tell you why I wasn't surprised. Outraged and not surprised. That's the governor we've had. We just had a legislative session where we're looking at ways to stabilize finances in Connecticut. And Ned Lamont had some decent ideas. But Ned Lamont took off the table the idea of having the very wealthy contribute to solving our problems. He called for tolls, which a lot of people, including me, a lot of progressive Democrats support as a needed solution. But it's hard to argue for things like tolls when you not even won't support, but take off the table any effort to increase taxes on the very, very wealthy. Democrats for a long time have been pushing, some Democrats, for acting like New York and Massachusetts, two states, by the way, that have been successful in luring businesses from Connecticut, and yet they have higher taxes on the very wealthy. So there was a proposal in Connecticut to sort of do what Ronald Reagan did, to do what other Republican presidents done, which is to have moderately higher taxes on the very wealthy and Democrats. This is bipartisan until the modern era. They wanted people who earn $500,000 or $1 million, depending on the proposal, to pay 7.5% in income tax rather than 6.99%. They're just the very ultra wealthy. Ned Lamont made his position clear in talking to progressive Democrats. You heard about that on the show last week with one of the state reps he met with, Josh Elliott. He took it off the table. Ned Lamont said, "I will not punish success." Now, this is as deeply clueless as his Joe Biden endorsement and related. Because when you look at it, Studies have shown over and over that the very wealthy pay a lot less of their income proportionally in taxes than everybody else because they're good. They got good lawyers, good accountants. They know how to shield their assets. They know how to hide their income or put it in non-taxable accounts. As a result, while the rest of us might be paying income tax, they pay a lot less on the income they earn. So even if you pass this proposal that some Democrats have been pushing for years to at least raise the rate on marginal income on everything you earn above $1 million, Ned Lamont feels that's the pain he feels. He doesn't feel the pain of people who have been exploited for decades by the states' rights argument and the powers of local governments in defiance of the Constitution to limit people's rights. He doesn't feel the pain of people scrambling to get by and might have to pay more on some of his other proposals that in isolation might make sense for dealing with Connecticut's long-term fiscal situation. But he feels pain of his fellow Greenwich Yacht Club pals that they would ever have to pay taxes on anything. And we all know he doesn't even believe in the estate tax. Folks, I think that is a sick situation. And this is the last part that I want to say about Ned Lamont and his Joe Biden endorsement and his I won't punish success by having everyone in Connecticut except the very wealthy pay more to try to address our fiscal problems. The only reason Ned Lamont is governor is because early on in last year's governor's race, the state AFL-CIO and other progressives decided he was going to be the candidate because he had a lot of his own money. He could buy the election. And never mind how bad a precedent is to have uninspiring, inexperienced losers become your candidate just because they can buy an election, which he only barely bought because he was such a bad candidate, and he bought it by lying about tolls. He said over and over, I will not propose tolls for anyone except trucks, and then immediately proposed tolls for everybody. Progressives picked him because they thought it was savvy. And now they're living with a person who is so fundamentally on the wrong side of every important issue the Democrats are trying to promote in this country, whether it's states' rights and justice and civil rights, as we saw in his endorsement yesterday, Joe Biden, at this incredible moment after a states' rights argument, or there is his ingrained hostility and intransigence on including the ultra wealthy like himself in any solution to Connecticut's fiscal challenges. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'll tell you why. There's something much more interesting than my soapbox going on in New Haven. And that's Mooncha, aka Thalen Delane Parker. She's been on the scene for years now in New Haven. She's a rapper, singer, and she has a new video out, which I think is really good. Brian Slattery has a review of it in the New Haven Independent. You can watch it, or you can watch the video and listen to it right now here on Local Tunes, Local Headlines on Dateline New Haven. Harry, should I do the aux phone or the mega seg for this one? What? Okay, I'm getting my station manager Harry Rose and Sam Hadelman are helping us prepare this here. So let's listen to Mooch's latest video, just dropped. And it's not spelled the way it sounds, but it's called Black Teens, BLKTENZ. Part of it, she's from New Haven. Part of it was shot in Neville Wisdom's Westville fashion studio. Take it away.
If I'm nobody to love me. I don't need nobody to.
And that's New Haven's Mooncha. Is in her new video, Black Teens, just dropped, I believe, this week. She's going to have a party at the State House where she performs sometimes along with Cafe 9 in New Haven with her latest video. And you're listening to Local Tunes, Local News on Dateline New Haven at Independence Day weekend special edition on the latest headlines, a little ranting about it, and a lot of local music you hear as well. I'm here with Harry Drosen and Sam Hadelman, who work the controls at WNHA. Sam, you know a lot more about music videos than I do. What did you think about Mooncha's video there? How does that fit into what you see in the industry and how it ranks?
It kind of reminded me of Missy Elliott, if you're familiar with her work.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the playful surrealism that you saw. And I really liked how independent the song was. Like the lyrics was to kind of all about like self-love and that you don't really need anyone else. And I kind of liked the scenery. It just didn't look like a local production. It was like one of the more professional videos I've seen from the New Haven area. I thought it was really interesting.
And do you have any thoughts on it, Harry? What'd you think of Mooncha? Because remember you made fun of me. I went to a local rap night and I talked about how great the rap was, and everyone pointed out that it was actually terrible. So I'm not the good judge on it. I really like this, but
not really. It wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I like a little bit more hard hitting stuff, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing I've kind of noticed. Again, you guys have to fill me in with this because I'm a little ignorant on this. It seems like there used to be rap and hip hop, and then there used to be older style R&B, which is very tuneful, both rhythmic. And that now it seems like it's almost a given that a lot of the music will have both. So you're singing for part of it over a certain kind of beat. The beat stays the same, but then you're rapping as parts of it. It almost seems like you're supposed to do that. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think that style kind of originated with Lauryn Hill, if you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
First hip hop artist to ever win a Grammy for Album of the Year. And then that kind of progressed into Drake, and Drake kind of brought in this melody singing along with rap, trying to be like Michael Jackson and Tupac at the same time. And so those are his words, not mine. And you kind of see like the lines of genre are just being so blended right now that the constraints of R&B and rap are kind of almost non-existent.
And we're finding country music as well.
Yeah.
Lil Nas X.
Yeah, country rap music with Young Thug, UGK, Lil Nas X. It just like the old constraints and the old things of genre that kind of used to hold people back and separate us are kind of being destroyed.
That's
kind of
awesome.
Like in every other media sector.
That's awesome. So when you looked at this video, the other thing is there were techniques here that I had a hunch might not have been quite as original. Like that kind of cartoon background. A lot of the scenes have sort of crayon type background with the live action in front. Isn't that kind of a little bit cliched at this point or no?
No, it's kind of like a drawback to early 2000s culture, which I myself never have an issue with. I love when things reference other time periods. Me myself, like
so that was actually a reference to another time period.
Yeah, kind of like.
See, Sam really can run this down. This is interesting.
I mean, that's just how my brain works.
Yeah, this is great.
Like Missy Elliott, if you remember how she used to do her videos, like she had the big like suits on, and she had these cartoon scenes. Like she had,
so this was a direct reference to that.
Yeah, it's kind of direct reference to that era, especially with a female rapper. Like Missy Elliott's like the godfather of female rap. Godmother, excuse me, El Padrone. But like you always want to like kind of draw back to the originals. It's kind of like how every male rapper tries to have the same imagery as Tupac. Every female rapper at some point or another is trying to be like either Lauryn Hill or Missy Elliott or both.
That's the thing, because the only person I really follow and really know is Lizzo. And she squarely says Missy Elliott, and now she just did a duet with her, but now she's famous too. But she said that was the inspiration. She was in a high school marching band. She heard Missy Elliott. She said, wow, I could do that.
Every female rapper loves Missy Elliott. You could definitely see the influence in this video. You could just like clearly see the cartoon, like the surrealism. It's just definitely an artistic drawback to her.
So overall, good song.
Yeah. I'm not.
Are you holding back because it's someone local and you're thinking wasn't so good?
I mean, I'm not that critical of a person. I try to find value in everything, and the value I saw.
I definitely like the song.
Yeah. I liked the message of it. I liked the lyrics. I thought the beat was nice. It was one of the better local New Haven productions I've heard.
Okay. And Harry, and it's not your thing. Not tough enough. Not AC/DC.
Yeah. You got to get more in tune with your emotions, Harry.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. I'm more, rock him.
You don't always got to listen to Cameron. You got to get in tune with your emotions.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know who got in tune with his emotions? Actually, I'm going to be really interested in what Harry has to say about this. And you too, Sam.
Yeah.
Justin Ellicker talked about his emotions on Sunday at a black church, Bethel AME, where the pastor supports Tony Harp, the mayor Justin Elicker is running against. Tony Harp is black. Justin Elicker is white. And this race is really falling down upon some racial lines, with some real exceptions, no question, because people are people. You can't just throw that broad brush. But there's no question that both sides feel that the vote is breaking down to base black versus white. So Justin Elicker, the white candidate, went to a black church and spoke. And he was welcome there. And it was an emotional week because the Harp campaign had attacked Justin Ellicker's wife. We broke a story last week that the FBI subpoenaed records, a lot of records, from the Harp administration. So the Harp administration kind of took a playbook from Donald Trump, your guy, Harry, by attacking the FBI's integrity, which some people thought. One person I talked to who has been investigated said to me, this is not an anti-Harper. I said, why would you attack the people trying to look into whether you do anything wrong? But in any case, they came up with a conspiracy theory that the Trump administration was behind the subpoena and that the Democratic Town Committee's leaders, even though these are all Democrats here, Harp and Elicker, also was behind it because they don't like Tony Harp, the white leader. And that this was all because Justin Ellicker's wife is an assistant U.S. attorney. She's a federal prosecutor. She joined the office under the Democrats. Deidre Daley was appointed by Barack Obama. In 2016, Barack Obama was president. Natalie Elicker was chosen to work for the U.S. Attorney's Office. She and others claim that they have very strict rules that if you have a family member involved in politics, you can't get anywhere near anything about that. You can't publicly do certain things like raise money. But they attacked. They said that this guy, the Harp administration came back and said, Justin Ellicker's wife works for the Trump administration and there's a conspiracy with the Democratic Town Committee, Donald Trump, and Natalie Elicker, that's his wife, to disgrace a black woman and throw her out of power. Heavy stuff.
Very heavy.
So Justin Elicker came on Sunday during Sabbath services to speak at Bethel AME Church. Harry, should that again be the aux button? Let's watch and hear what Justin Elicker had to say about that.
City, and I am very proud of.
Oh, can we go to the three minute mark, Harry? Because that's Reverend Cousin introducing him. Justin is at the 3 minute mark where he talks about, because I want to skip Justin saying hello. So again, this is Bethel AME Church on Sunday. I was there in the front pew. I really loved hearing Reverend Cousins preach. He was great, and there was some great music too. And now we're going to see what Justin Elicker said about his emotions and the attack on his wife.
It's been if you follow New Haven politics, this has been an unusual week. I can just imagine people around town reading the newspaper and saying, what? And if you read the newspaper, you know what I'm talking about. So people saying, New Haven, here we go again, right? And I don't want to talk about this. There were some things said about my wife that I think oftentimes we let emotions get the best of us, and emotions drive our decisions. And we have to remind ourselves, and my wife is actually the first one to remind me, you're letting your emotions drive your decisions instead of letting your intellect drive your decisions. I have to remind myself not to let my emotions drive my decisions. And if you turn away from the front page of the paper, where we often see the kind of political dialogue and drama, and look at the second page, that's the stuff that really counts. And I don't know if you all saw the photo of the man and his 23-month-old daughter floating in the Rio Grande River trying to cross into the United States, looking for open arms and a society that welcomes their family from the challenges that they face in their own country that are driven by violence and greed. Or an 8-year-old boy in New Haven that was shot on Friday. That's the real challenge that we must address today. And there's so many examples of that. And we so often focus on the political rhetoric and the bad-mouthing of the institutions that we see from Donald Trump, but not just Donald Trump, but so many politicians out there. The end, in my view, does not justify the means, because the means is how we get to a proper end. We must acknowledge and respect the institutions institutions of law, We must, most importantly, acknowledge and respect each other. We have so much division in our nation right now and in our city. And I believe that instead of the political rhetoric, we need to join hands and work together. And not demoralize people that might have a position against us. Not alienate others because...
All right, that was Justin Ellicker, Democratic candidate for mayor. He's white. He spoke at a black church in a racially charged mayoral election about attacks on his wife by his opponent's campaign. This is Paul Bass. I'm talking about local tunes, local headlines, local news on WNHH-FM for Independence Day weekend. I'm here with Harry Drost and Sam Hadelman, looking at some tunes, looking at some video, talking about what's in the news and what it all means. And I want to know what you both thought about this, because you come from different generations, Sam and Harry. And Harry, if it's okay with you, can we avoid making it a disagreement because we feel differently about Donald Trump and the substance of who's really Donald Trump and whether it's good that Donald Trump attacks the FBI? I was actually interested in a different question here, because I've heard you, Harry, talk about what you like to see in candidates and how much emotion versus how much, and at times, you know, you've praised Pete Buttigieg for having such calm, rational response to things. Other times you feel like you want to see more fire and passion from a candidate. This guy's wife got really scurrilously attacked by an opponent who was feeling on the run. How do you feel about the way that Justin Ellicker responded there in church on Sunday?
I think it was measured. You know, I think it was a kind of a perfect response.
Interesting. I was really interested what you're going to say about that. There's no question it was measured. It's like, I'm mad as hell, and I'm just going to tell you something I don't like about what they did, but I'm really resisting from lashing back the way I feel when someone attacks my wife.
Yeah, and putting myself in his shoes, it's something that you don't ever want to be measured on when it comes to your family. It's personal, so you want to attack full tilt, but I give him credit for pulling back.
And you saw he got the response.
Yeah.
He kind of made it a larger point. And because I know how you feel, Harry. I think you probably feel the same way. I don't know if you about Sam, you're not married with her. Remember, I know my wife and I, when someone attacks one of us, the other one instinctively is outraged and wants to strike back. And we usually prevent ourselves from doing that. But I've watched it with her, watched it with me. I'm still mad. Like, the only people I kind of hate in this world are people who've been so unfairly wrong to my wife. And it's just, it's instinctual. It's human. And so the question was, does Ellicker, you said it was Burke responses, Ellicker, because he still made a case. He said, I'm not going to hit back at them and talk, because you could talk about anyone's family. I actually think people are very unfair to Toni Harp's family. They bring up her dead husband. They bring up her son unfairly. And he has refrained from doing that, but his campaign people do lots of nasty things. So I'm not saying one campaign is better than the other. On this moment, you feel that was an effective way to respond.
Definitely.
Because other times you said you want to see more fire. You want to see him attacking Toni Harp.
When it's personal, you have to be very careful. So that's why I give him credit.
So they could have thrown him off.
Yeah, definitely. And that's probably, part of the political game. You want to throw somebody off of the game. And that's why when it's personal, and you're right, when somebody attacks your spouse, it's more personal to you. When they attack you, I get
blinded with rage.
Right. When they attack you, you want to just brush it off, and your spouse gets outraged for you.
Yeah.
So it's more personal when they're attacking.
And he actually brought a broader point up about respect for institutions and what the cost of this kind of attack is. Now, Sam, you come from a different generation, and you've spent times. I mean, your mother's Puerto Rican, right? And your father's Jewish.
Yep.
So you've spent time in rooms that's all people of color, right? And all people who are white. You hear how about people talk to each other.
Yeah.
And you're a millennial or even younger, right?
97 is exactly right in the middle of Generation Z and millennial, so I'm like right in the middle.
So you're a Z millennial, millennial,
the middle child, middle child.
So what's your reaction when you want something like that, both on the racial end and on the tactical?
So first, I've always kind of felt like an issue with white candidates going into all white space, like all black spaces or all minority spaces, like when presidential candidates go on the Breakfast Club and Hillary Clinton brings hot sauce. Like things like that have always really struck a chord with me. It was like
Pro or con?
mostly con. I always find it kind of inauthentic.
Because our readers brought up your point too. Some people said to church, why you bring him in here? Other people say, how dare you run for mayor in a city that is majority minority, not majority black. It's almost pretty evenly black, white, Latino. It's not exactly like that, but a lot of it involves statistics we can't nail down because undocumented residents. But some people say, how can you run as a white candidate in the city without going to black spaces and showing that you want everybody's support?
I understand the necessity of it. It just still feels pretty inauthentic to me. In this case, it didn't seem like he was overextending himself, but in most cases, it feels pretty inauthentic. But I thought the HARP campaign, that was just like a desperate moment. Like they're like free falling. Like
I agree.
Like it was just something out of a TV show. And I'd kind of disagree when you said it kind of reminded you of Donald Trump. I told you earlier, it kind of reminded me of Hillary Clinton. Like when Hillary Clinton's when they lost, and within 10 minutes, her campaign manager was on there saying Russia colluded. It was because of Russia. It kind of was just like them just trying to explain their own misfaults. And yeah, it just feels like they're free falling to me. And Elliker's response was really calculated, and I think it had to be because you can't like you said, you can't let your emotions overrun you.
I have to say that I'm not one who's easily inspired on the campaign trail. I don't think Justin Elliker is more or less inspiring than his opponents, but I thought he was good at that moment. I felt it was the right tone, and he didn't use notes, so he didn't use the exact right words. He said demoralize rather than dehumanize, but it was a good move because he spoke from the heart. He spoke well. He spoke from the heart. He was focused, and he didn't speak too long, by the way. He stayed under 4 minutes. Right. So, like, I felt that was really the right move because he was going into an African-American space respecting that. I'm not going to take up all your time and tell you how great I am. I'm going to ask for your support and make a point. So I actually thought he did very well.
Yeah, and definitely because, look, personally, I don't find Elliker inspiring at all.
Right.
You know,
right, he does right.
When he's talking with his regular tone and everything, it's a canned
and a little bit pandering about Yale. His Yale attacks don't make a lot of sense.
But this
like
had the right feeling,
the
right emotion. So
okay. So but it was a good night for Toni Harp's had a lot of bad things not go her way in the last week, but last night, which if you're listening live was Tuesday night, she did win 2 ward committee support, Democratic ward committees, because he's been gaining support in some interesting places. Like it doesn't matter so much what ward committees think. They're the most important people in a ward in terms of getting out vote and being effective, but they're still not the larger city. So, for instance, Ward 25, a big voting ward in Westville. In 2013, the ward committee went with Toni Harp, but the ward went overall 2-1 for Elliker. So you don't need to win the ward committee. But what was interesting this year is that Ward 25 went for Elliker over Harp, which shows some kind of shift. Ward 13, the Democratic committee went for Elliker last week. Now, last night in Harp's base, she did pull 2 clear victories. New Hallville, Ward 20, they heard from all the candidates. Strong voter support for Harp. Ward 5 in the Hill, Latino as much as black and white, voted solidly for Harp. So we got a race on our hands, folks.
We do have a race, and
which we never mind in the media.
Right. and you know, sitting here over the last few races with Harp, right? It feels different.
Of course, it's a real race. He wasn't at risk in the other races.
Right, but it also feels different. It feels like personal.
Yeah,
when you hear people talking about what's going on, you know, behind the scenes, not on the mic, you feel how personal it is.
It is, and so much has to do with race too, and how differently white and black people see the world. I guess they had a long conversation with a black supporter, Harp, and talked about how when a white person with less credentials comes into a room, a man, everyone listens and gives him more attention, and then they use ways to discredit the black woman. Such a reality of life. That's the lens they see. And white people are so defensive of being called racist. They say, can't we be for a white person over a black person if we think they're better for the job? And then they get so defensive about it, they really overreact anytime any issue of race is raised. So it is 2 different worldviews in this race. Mm-hmm. But anyway, for both sides, they're going to have to follow the advice of Steve Mednick. Because Steve Mednick's been involved in politics in New Haven for decades, and he's a lawyer, and he puts out albums of folk rock that he writes. And here's what he says on his album, The Ceremony of Innocence. Steve Mednick says, someone has to fight this war. I just put on the wrong one. Okay, one sec.
You're listening live to 103.5 WNHH, your home for local and community radio, streaming live on TuneIn and newhavenindependent.org, and more importantly, YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
I've gotten pretty good.
Someone needs to fight this war, or just kiss the future goodbye. Crank up the volume, turn on the light, take away the shadows where they hide. Someone needs to fight this war, need to send them to the rings of hell. Speak your mind in a serious way, bang the drums and ring all the bells. We need clean water, we need to breathe clean air. The heat is rising, tornadoes everywhere. Ozone depleting, CO2 fills the atmosphere. The sea is rising daily, the ice is melting in the air. Someone needs to fight this war, or soon will be extinct. Storm the halls, climb the barricades, do anything to make them think. Someone needs to fight this war, all we need is a little truth. Mindless tantrums on the radio will sink this country, and that is sure. We need clean water, we need to breathe clean air. The heat is rising, tornadoes everywhere. Ozone depleting, CO2 fills the atmosphere. The sea is rising daily, the ice is melting in the air. Someone needs to fight this war and repent for all our sins. Don't fool Mother Nature, 'cause she will swallow you in the end. Someone needs to fight this war. Someone needs to fight this war. Someone needs.
New Haven, Steve Mednick. Someone needs to fight this war. From his 2016 album, The Ceremony of Innocence, Problems in Democracy, Volume 4. We'll hear some more in the background of that album for this Independence Day weekend version of Dateline New Haven. We're doing local tunes, local headlines. I'm your host, Paul Bass, with WNHH's station manager, Harry Drost, and our own Sam Hadelman. I also want to let you know that July 4th weekend, starting on July 5th, Friday night, we got a great thing happen this summer, and that's a series of free concerts in Hamden at the Town Center Park. The first concert on July 5th starts at 7:30 at Town Center Park in Hamden, and it's going to feature two main bands. The first is New Haven-based Afro jazz group Mandingo Ambassadors. The second group is a Chicano band from Los Angeles called Las Cafeteras. We've heard them play in New Haven at some of the immigration protests. They go on around 8:45 p.m. And we'd like to make sure everyone shows up. Town Center Park is at 2761 Dixwell Avenue. And the major sponsors include Quinnipiac University, Liberty Bank of Hamden, and Dr. Daniel Tarifi of Hamden Chiropractic. So, Sam and Harry, other big news this week is Mayor Harp announced whom she wants to be the next police chief of the department. He picked Antonio Reyes, otherwise Tony Reyes to others. He was the acting chief, former assistant chief. An resisting pick on a lot of levels. It still has to be approved by the Board of Alders. I'm here. That's going to happen. And it was a contentious process, almost like an election campaign. And it, related to this election campaign, it was racial. A lot of people wanted a black chief. And then Latino leaders didn't back Reyes. They wanted someone they were more comfortable with, named Luis Casanova, who was a retired assistant chief. And Harp waited a long time to make the decision. People dug in, made all sorts of accusations. And she went with Reyes, she said, because of his experience. He's done every job in the department. He's been there 19 and a half years. He grew up in the Hill, started out Church Street South, and his dad bought a house in the Hill, went to college, came back, was first a drug treatment counselor in the Hill, Johnny Martinez's old center on Grand Street, then became a cop, and he did pretty much every job in the department. He was a patrolman. He ran a patrol district. He was detective. He worked on the state, federal, local task force to get gangbangers. He headed the detective division. He had the patrol division. He was assistant chief. Well, a couple things are interesting about this guys. For a lot of years, since 2007, we had a federal corruption investigation of New Haven Police, and we brought in people to tell us how to improve the department. So we kept bringing in 3 straight chiefs from out of town, saying our department was too corrupt and broken, and we had to rebuild it. And we brought these 3 chiefs, Jim Lewis, Frank Lamone, and Dean Esserman. And they each brought their own assistant chiefs. The first 2 brought assistant chiefs from Chicago and L.A. But now Tony Hart, since she's been mayor, has picked 2 chiefs from within the department, Anthony Campbell and Antonio Reyes. And her argument is that the department has rebuilt. It has new challenges now because so many have left. So they're going to have to rebuild it that way. But she felt that we have enough talent in-house to do what needs to be done and keep us safe. Shootings are up this year, but overall violent crime is way down over a longer period. And immediately, Antonio Reyes picked 3 assistant chiefs from within the department. He picked Herb Sharp, Renee Dominguez, and Carl Jacobson. Sam, you were in the room, and I know you're familiar with some of the characters. What was your take on the vibe and what this decision means?
So on the vibe of the room, I don't know. It felt like this was the last thing on Harp's mind. Like, I feel like she's had such a stressful month that picking the police chief, she just wanted the safest choice, and that's really what.
And the day before, there'd been a disastrous press conference. It's something like I've never seen. On the afternoon, she was announcing lead paint policies, being on a lot of attack for administration's policies. She said, "I'm going to announce a new one that'll make everyone happy, and I'll stop fighting it in court." But when she announced it, she was feeling so besieged, and her critics are right there, that you were confused what she was announcing because she was also attacking people who said there was a need to change it. And then the new person she has in charge of it, because they had to get rid of the old guy, stands up and starts saying they're not going to really do a fully new policy. We're not going to go to the standard people want to be stricter in enforcement and start doing enforcements. And the mayor interrupted her person and said, "Yes, we will." Yeah. And then the person said, "No, we won't." And then she said, "Yes, we will." And all her aides were scrambling, panicked. So yesterday morning, when she announced the police chief, it did go according to script. Yeah. That behind the scenes, there was a lot of fighting. But once he was picked and it was over, all the people who didn't want him started sucking up to him because he now had the power, is about to. And it was the celebration of Latino advancement. I really got that strong with the ministers and the political leaders that they felt this was a win for the Latino community. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I like that they pick someone within the department. I think the only way to build community-based policing is to pick someone from the community. So having someone come in from an outside place kind of it kind of puts a strike against the community-based policing plan. But having someone in the department who's had so many jobs and is so interconnected with the city, it's the perfect place to start to try to get us on the right track. And I think it was a huge win for the New Haven Latino community. As you can see,
they feel there are no other major appointments of Latinos in her administration, although the chief of staff is Latino, the most powerful person. But there's a feeling that she hires too many African Americans and white people in top positions, also the head of police services. But that, in any case, that she's getting hit by all sides who want more.
Yeah, I think that every major group in the city always wants to have their face put into positions of power, and once one person's put in, other groups feel excluded. But again, when just speaking to this appointment, I think that was the right choice for her.
Harry Dross.
I think so too. I think Reyes is, for me, he was part of my top 2 picks, right? I got to
What
throw
was your
in
other one?
for John Valleca. But Reyes fits. He just fits perfectly, right? And it does give the Latino community a win going into this election
And more probably for
season.
Harp, will it mean that they'll stick with her? Because there's some real
Well,
feeling about whether
absolutely.
Latino voters are going to support her against Justin Elicker.
Well, they actually feel, let me just say from what I've heard, they actually do feel that she did something for them. Now they owe her.
Mhm. Now, how does that translate to the grassroots vote?
That's the thing.
Do they pull out
Let's
many people?
see. Let's see if they come out and vote.
All right. Let's see what you can do July 4th. You guys have any plans?
I'm hanging out with my mom.
All right. I like that.
I usually do something really cool. Like I'll go to like New York City.
Wait, that's cool.
Yeah, but I meant like really cool. Like I'll go to New York City. I'll see Travis Scott or something. But this year, me and my mom are just going to be hanging out with a couple of my friends.
Okay. Sam just went way up his rating, hanging out with mom on July 4th. How about you, Harry? You hanging out with mom?
No.
Mom?
I shouldn't say no.
Mom
but-
came to live in your city. You're great to mom.
Well,
You
yeah,
love
but
mom.
I love my mom, but I'm not. I don't think I'm gonna hang out with my mom. I'm actually gonna go early to see the new Spider-Man movie,
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
and then come back to
Okay, you got your priorities. I'll be saying Kaddish for my mom this afternoon, if that counts. She died in 1968. But I'll be seeing the rest of my family. Not the rest of my family. I'll be seeing a bunch of relatives tomorrow, which will be nice. I'm wishing that everybody has a really great July 4th. We've had a lot of craziness in New Haven. Things are going to, I think, calm down for a few days. We'll see. There's fireworks Thursday night, starting at 9:15
Yeah, those are the only
at the
bangs we want to hear.
at Wilbercross High
pops.
School. And don't forget, everybody, Friday night at 7:30, the first in the summer-long series of outdoor free concerts in Hamden's Town Center Park, 2761 Dixwell Ave. It's going to start with Mandingo Ambassadors and Las Cafeteras. And of course, I'm sure I mispronounced that correct. Was I even close? Or?
It sounds pretty good.
They sounded pretty
Really?
good. Yeah. You get 2 thumbs up
It's
from
a
us.
it's a Mexican
Well, you guys are
band.
defining deviancy down here.
Sounds pretty good.
All right. Anyway, thanks for joining us today on the Independence
Of
Weekend.
course, we know
version
Spanglish.
Yeah.
of Dateline New Haven. Thanks to Yellow Haven Hospital for providing financial support. Thanks to the magicians behind the scenes and in front of the camera today, Harry Jaros and Sam Hadelman. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night through this holiday weekend at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.